Good morning, children. Welcome to the chemistry online class of Sri Gokulam Public School. How are you, children? I hope all are fine at home. We have completed chapter 3, synthetic fibers and plastics. Today we are going to begin with a new chapter, that is chapter 4, materials, metals and non-metals. Children, what are materials? You already learned in your previous classes. Material is what an object is made up of. Materials can be metals and non-metals. If we look around us, we can see a lot of materials. So, how can we understand whether these materials are metals or non-metals? How can we distinguish metals from non-metals? For this, you have to know about the properties of metals and non-metals. In this chapter, you have to learn about properties of metals and non-metals. Properties are generally classified as physical properties and chemical properties. In this session, we are going to discuss about physical properties of metals and non-metals. So, let's see the physical properties of metals and non-metals. These are the physical properties of metals and non-metals. They are hardness, luster, malleability, ductility, sonorous and conductivity. Let us discuss this in detail. First property, hardness. Metals are generally hard in nature. This hardness varies from metal to metal. Metals do not compress. Materials that can't be easily compressed, cut, bent are called hard materials. Second property is luster. The shiny appearance of materials is called luster. Let us take an example of gold and aluminium. Does it shine? Yes, of course. Both gold and aluminium have a certain shine. The shine is called luster. And as both gold and aluminium are metals, this is known as metallic luster. Next property is malleability. Children, how huge aluminium plates are made or sheet of copper or zinc. If we take a hammer and beat them, they turn into sheets. It is an important property of metal that can be beaten into sheets. We call this property as malleability of metals. Most metals can be beaten into thin sheets. The property of metals by which they can be beaten into thin sheets is called malleability. You might have seen silver foil used for decorating sweets and aluminium foil used for wrapping food. These are some examples for the malleable property of metals. Next property of metal is ductility. Have you ever seen copper wire or gold wire used to make jewelry? Metals by nature also be drawn into wires. This property is called ductility. The ability of metal can be drawn into wires are called ductility. Next property is sonorous. Children, what happens when we strike the metal on a hard surface? Can you hear a sound produced by metal? Yes. This is another property of metals. We can call metals are sonorous, meaning they produce sound when hit against hard surface. School bells, church bells, bells in temple, all these are made up of metals. Another important property is conductivity. Metal utensils are used for cooking. Why do you think they used for this purpose? We need heat energy for cooking. Therefore, metals are good conductors of heat. Most metals are good conductors of heat. The metals having good conductors of heat is silver and copper, and the metal having poor conductors of heat is lead and mercury. Electrical wires are also made up of metals because they are good conductors of electricity. And because they are good conductors of electricity, they are coated with rubber-like material act as an insulator. Children, if these are the physical properties of metals, what will be the properties of non-metals? Yes, it is just the opposite of physical properties of metals. So, we can differentiate the properties of metals and non-metals. Properties of metals includes luster, malleability, ductility, hard, good conductors of heat and electricity, and sonorous. While in the case of non-metal, they do not have luster, they are brittle. Brittle means easily breakable. They are poor conductors of heat and electricity, and they are non-sonorous. Let's see some example for non-metals. In gaseous state, oxygen, hydrogen are non-metals. Solids like carbon, sulfur are examples for non-metals. Bromine is the only non-metal in liquid state. So children, is it easy to differentiate metals from non-metals on the basis of these physical properties? But there are some exceptions. Let's see what are the exceptions. All metals are hard. There is an exception that sodium and potassium are soft metals. These metals can be cut with a knife. All metals are exist in solid state except mercury. Mercury is the only metal which is found in liquid state at room temperature. So children, do you think it is easy to differentiate metals from non-metals on the basis of these physical properties? No. There is another way to differentiate metals from non-metals, that is chemical properties. We will discuss about the chemical properties of metals and non-metals in the next session. So that's all for today's class. I hope all of you understood this topic. Read the lesson well. I have attached a corresponding video URL, test questions and notes. Attend the test questions sincerely. Copy the notes and study well. See you in the next class. Until then, take care children. Thank you.